Welcome in everyone to another episode of the Gibson Show, and today I am joined by the one and only Gregshot from Wildcard. Greg, how are things, man? Welcome in.
I'm doing well. How are you, Gibson?
I'm doing good. Are you back into the routine now after some time off, some holidays after your trip to Dubai?
Yeah, the trip to Dubai itself was a nice holiday, but I took a little family vacation and a little friend vacation there too, and it was really nice, relaxing. Got to touch some sand, got to go to the beach and stuff. So prepared me for 2023. Chilled me out before the hard grind of the year.
Where'd you go?
I went to Mexico actually to touch some sand, and then I went to San Antonio to visit some homies from a Discord server I hang out with called Boink Boink. Shout out to the boys with Zraven. I mean, they're all PUBG homies. So Zraven, Enraged Zealot, Ethan C. We all hung out in San Antonio. Oh, and Zenny. My bad. I can't forget about Zenny. Yeah, we hung out in San Antonio as friends, and then most recently took the trip to Mexico with some family.
Love those guys too. Pretty good guys. Pretty good at the game, most of those guys too. So
oh yeah. All shooters, all gamers.
It ain't a bad one. And tell me this: when you were at the beach, did you like the sand or not? Because I know a lot of people. Some people love it. Some people hate it.
So I actually really hated the sand and really hated I loved the beach, but I hated the sand growing up. But after 7 years of not touching it, man, I was enjoying it. I was actually just basking in it. I was like, this is amazing. And the beach itself was really, really nice. So the sand was clean. It wasn't dirty or anything. There wasn't any algae or anything. So it was actually really, really enjoyable.
Yeah. So I live in rural Ireland, but I'm 45 minutes away from about 7 different beaches, which are all beautiful. But the problem is I live in Ireland. So the weather ain't what you would call beach weather. And I like the beach when I'm there, but see, getting into the car afterwards, just the sand being everywhere, that's kind of my pet peeve. But look, we'll kick off the interview, and I think the thing that I like to do with these is start off just by talking about your career as a whole. So Greg, for anybody who doesn't know you or anyone who might not know, why don't you tell us the story of how you got into competitive PUBG?
So the story from step one would be I was just playing the game, having a lot of fun. I mean, the very first game of PUBG that I played, I won. So from that moment on, I was stuck to PUBG. I was grinding League of Legends prior to that. My duo had showed me it, won our first game. Like I said, fell in love. And from there, I was just grinding hardcore. I was maybe 3 months late to the game. I got it in I think it was May, and the game had come out in March. So I was 2 months late per se. So I wasn't in the early leaderboard rank grinding days. I was in the 2018, 2019 leaderboard rank grinding days. So I didn't get invited into the Naps Discord or anything until late 2018, almost starting of 2019, where Hunter Rounds, actually, I don't know if you know who that is, 100 Rounds, picked me up from the ranked leaderboard grinding Discord. And we started grinding a little bit of ranked. He liked a lot how I played. So he made a little mixed team per se, because I guess he was washed. So our team was actually called Washed Up, which is the team right now in tier 2. They've adopted our name from back then, and that team was Hunter Rounds, Elijah Q, and Keenan, which is a very similar face as the start of his PUBG career as well. So we both started on the same team, which is really cool because we've now both been to global events and seen a lot of success in PUBG, which is actually really dope. But from there, we got signed to a really crappy org called Regal's Reserve. I mean, that was all in the past. I went to a team called Fabled with Hella, Supernova, and Eva. That was to start the year for PCS. Actually, no, that's a lie. I didn't go to Fabled right away. My bad. I missed an entire year of PUBG. I went to Reinvent with Grizzly Mallard, CeeLo, and Richie 3, which was an EU player at the time. And I got put on that team because Inferno FPS was on that team a long time ago. His PC broke, and he had played with me a couple times, and he had seen how cracked I was and how motivated I was to get better. And he put my name into the bag, and they picked me out for a tryout. They really loved me. They saw how developable I was, how how much they could build me and mold me, and they really did. In that year, I like improved so much. We were playing NPLC, so the Contenders League. I played 4 LANs that year in 2019 from, playing 2 tournaments in 2018 at the end of 2018. I immediately hopping into LANs and like getting into the thick of PUBG, which like I was late, but I got really good experience right away, which allowed me to then go on to, Fabled, which was kind of another kind of like friend team with Hella, Supernova, Eva. It was less serious than Reinvent, actually, but we actually garnered better results. So in PCS 1, we came 6th, and PCS 2 and 3 made multiple roster switches that just didn't go our way, performed really poorly, and from there, I made a mixed team with Supernova, Free Me Please, and Light Show called Four Maniacs. And that's actually how I got recognized by Gas Cans. And that was my first big shot. That was my first big tryout. They loved me. I was competing against 2 other guys, and I beat them out for the spot. I mean, we were literally trying out on the same day. I'm talking, I got 3 games. The homie got 3 other games, and like we were competing that hard for the spot, and I ended up getting it, like luckily. And I mean, and it worked out for the best because our team is obviously, has built on to be a really, really strong team. I would say top 3, top 4 in NA, without a doubt in my mind. And we will continue to be. And it's quite a wild ride, I'd say, because I mean, I'd like to say that I started from literally nothing pretty late into the scene and have grown to be the top echelon of players, which I'm very proud to say. I mean, I'm obviously being a little cocky and saying that, but I mean, it's nice to see.
Yeah, so my first ever time properly interacting and casting in NA as well was a 303 Royale event that you were playing in with Gas Cans.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember if it was the first or second map that I had ever casted to. And it was the one where you guys were getting hot dropped in Minas. And you just were like bandaging and dancing your way into the zone for like 15 minutes and died in the blue. And I was like, you know what? I like this guy. Yeah, you had a bit of fun with it. I think you knew you were being spectated at that point as well.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember it was a power grid hot drop, but I was just having fun with it, trying to survive for as long as possible. I remember I was in a bang bus driving through Picado, trying to look for meds. Yeah, I remember that exact moment, man. That was crazy. That's crazy. That's the first time. I'm crazy you remember. It's crazy you remember the first time you casted me, because like that was so long ago. I mean, we smurfed that event. I remember.
There's little things that, for loads of players in NA and EU that I just remember the first time that I noticed them. There's a couple of guys as well, like Hooligan and Grant Lantis. The first time I casted those guys too, it was like, there's something about these guys that I really like. But for you, and I'm going to say this as a caster as well, I don't think there's a single player in NA who has improved as much in a calendar year as the improvement that you've made. You've gone from being a very good, talented player to arguably top 3 to 5 players in all of NA with the way that you're playing right now.
Oh, that's a big compliment, man. Thank you.
But it's a compliment I mean. And it's, I even think back to a scrim that I casted, one of the very first ones of the year. And it was like 8 teams left. You were solo. And I was like, it was a nice try, Greg. You got 4 or 5 kills, but, surely you can't go on to win it from here. And I think you just went full on Rambo mode and got like 7 or 8 more kills individually and won the whole lobby. And a lot of people in the chat at the time were like, wow, Greg has become a whole new animal. And this is where I want to ask, what switched? What turned you into that player? Was it, getting picked up by Wildcard and playing in that roster that you are? Or was there something else that sparked that huge improvement over a year?
I think it's like the improvement has been massive, but I think that there's been a lot of stepping stones to get there. And with every stepping stone, I feel like, I don't know if it's a personality trait of mine. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but with every stepping stone and every harder and harder tournament that I play, everything below that just seems easier and easier. And I'm 10 times more confident. I'm cocky. I feel like I'm the best player in the lobby at all times. Like, just from playing PGC, which was the top level gameplay against the best teams in the world, being humbled by 17 multiple times, just like getting absolutely destroyed, and then being able to destroy Navi. Like, getting my confidence back up and like being able to do crazy stuff at PGC that made me feel like I'm actually like, wow, I'm a top player. I'm competing against these guys and showing that I can compete and prove to myself that basically. Now when I go on to future games and any game that I go on to, I have that confidence and believe that, man, I'm this good. I'm truly this good. Not only did I compete against the best, but I'm going to destroy anything below that. So that's kind of what the mentality that I have right now. And I guess that's what's showing in the game. As well as just working a lot with my team, man. We're every day recording our games, VOD reviewing, and I VOD review myself all the time. I'm watching myself play all the time, which seems conceited, but it's actually the best way to improve in PUBG, especially individual improvement, is to VOD review yourself and really find out why you're playing poorly, find out what your mistakes are, and truly like fix them and mold yourself to be a better player, which is I've just been developing and adding on to myself slowly into being just like a monster, you know what I mean? And not just taking it all in at once. And is what's really helped me develop is, like I said, just taking it step by step.
One of the things that I like about Wildcard as well is the fact that it's a team full of personalities. You know, you've got you in there. Adam is one of the best DMR players out there. There's no question about it. You've got Nikos in the mix as well, and then you've got Cow. And Cow is one of the funniest people, I think, in all of PUBG. He has a laugh all the time. How important is it for you that you get on with your teammates, that you have those personalities, and that it doesn't feel like a chore whenever you do go to do scrims or you do go to play in these events?
Oh yeah, man. That's what I tell everybody, is that the personalities and the boys, like the mentality and the vibe in the room when we're playing together is so enjoyable. It's so amazing. Like, I absolutely love playing with those guys. Like, those 6 games I get a day of scrims are just like the most enjoyable time of my life. Even if I'm tilted at the scrims, I'm enjoying myself because we're doing something together, working for the same goal, and we're like a unit. You know what I mean? We're a team, and it's like we're in it together. Everything we do is like geared to improving each and every single one of us, and we're critical with each other, and in a good way. We're never really like arguing or anything like that, so it makes the vibe really nice. And like you said, the personalities make it fun as well. So like always having fun with Nico, always having fun with Cal, Adam and I are always shooting shit. It's always like a super enjoyable time, and a very professional environment as well, because we get a lot of work done and still have a lot of fun while doing it, which is really dope.
Yeah, the first time I ever spoke to Cow was on a Discord call, because I kind of wanted to know more about the team way back when I started casting. The very first thing he said to me wasn't hello, it was give me a kiss. That's how he started the call, and I was like, right.
Yeah, he's the king of icebreakers, man. Like, Cow is the easiest person in the world to talk to. It's absolutely a delight to have that man on our team. Yeah. He's like the puzzle piece, like there's a giant puzzle piece missing, and he just like filled in there and like overfilled the piece. It was amazing.
So I want to talk about 2022 now. It's weird saying that's scary when you're saying the fact it's 2023 now, but you guys obviously got picked up by Wildcard, and they dropped the roster that they had. Most of the guys who were on that old roster are still floating about the NA scene with different teams, but you properly climbed through the tiers last year in NA. So, obviously people had a lot of high hopes for the likes of Dodge, Rumblers, and you guys managed to leapfrog them all over the course of the year, and you qualified for the biggest event, that is PGC. That's what every single player wants to do. And as far, if I might be wrong, I could probably be wrong, but this, if I'm not wrong, was your first proper big international LAN event that you went to out in Dubai. Talk me through the weeks going up to that event and what it was like when you actually got out there.
Going into that event, like you said, yeah, it was my first international event. So I felt like the pressure for the year had already kind of come off my shoulders, because we did qualify to PGC, and it was so like well done. Like, it was like pretty secured. It wasn't like that close per se, although we didn't perform that well. So we were really wanting to improve as much as we could as quickly as possible going into it. So it wasn't really nervousness or anything. It was actually just kind of like trying to fit in as much as we could right beforehand. I was trying to practice as much as I possibly could and enjoy myself like as much as I could as well, before going out and doing a month of what that was. So I think the the nerves weren't really all that high. Like I said, we were going in there with pretty much nothing to lose. Not necessarily in a sense of like we were ready to lose. We wanted to win, but we were accepting with the fact that we knew we could make finals, but that if we came poorly in finals, I mean, it would just be a result of our individual performance rather than the fact that we're not capable. You know what I mean? So we were pretty happy with just being able to qualify and knowing that we get to show ourselves off.
I think you had a couple of very good days out there as well, and you made it through to the finals. I think there was a couple of days where it was like, this team could actually very well get into the top 6 or 7, which I think would have probably beat your own expectations too going into the event at that point.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when you look at the teams that you outperformed, as I said, you came 14th. So as it stands, you're the 14th best team in the world. You look at the NA teams that qualified through for PGC, you outperformed pretty much all of them apart from the XE United roster. Like, when you got to the finals, was there kind of like a smugness as in, we're pretty damn good at what we do. We've beaten all expectations. And the real question I suppose that I'm asking here is, do you think that you guys could have done better in the final had you put a bit more pressure on yourselves?
I'm not sure if pressure would have done it, to be honest, because I feel like for some of us the pressure was too much, and for some of us the pressure was just enough. I'd say like we definitely, going into it, we asked ourselves what our expectations were, and I'd say for the majority of us it was actually just to get the finals, which kind of surprised me. And when I really thought about it, I was like, well, my expectation is just to beat out every other NA team. And when like you said, we made it to finals and we were the only 2. Like, yeah, I felt like I was up there. I felt good about, getting to the task at hand, like being almost done with the task. And obviously we weren't going to beat out a United at that event because they were just killing it. I'd say the top 4 teams at that event were the only teams that actually played well. We actually talked about that today. We were like, if you really look back at PGC, those top 4 teams were the only teams that played good. Everyone else played really bad because we were even 5th at some point. You know what I mean? Like, we could have been in that top 8 really easily, and it wouldn't have even have to been a change of like how we felt about the pressure. It would have just been an actual change of like on those days how we chose to perform or how we chose to like how we made our decisions or what decisions we made on those particular days. I'd say it even comes down to like even the smallest hair of a decision or the smallest misplay in an execution.
Normally when it comes to an event like that where you have best of 30s and you get to like the higher number of rounds, you have to be on it almost every single day to win. But as you pointed out, in that PGC, it wasn't a case of a single team dominating the whole way through finals. Like, look at how many places Navi went up on the final day.
Oh yeah.
And as a PUBG fan, I was delighted to see Navi win. Obviously I have a lot of love for the players in that team and they've been around the scene for a long, long time. For you being in that arena and you're looking around and you see all of these, big names, all these players from around the world that you probably admired at times as well. What was that side of things like? Did you get much time to talk to the other players, and were there any players in particular that you really enjoyed meeting?
Oh yeah, like you said, like a lot of those players at my early stages, I looked up to them, man. It was crazy to see them and meet them. But it was a realization. It was kind of like, these guys are human. These guys have flaws as well. We're all here in the same place, same time, and we all have to compete with the same odds at hand and the same devices, the same everything. You know what I mean? Like the same playing field. And it was really nice to be like, wow, I'm on the same playing field as these guys. I can compete with these guys. I just put immediately just like, I'm here with you guys. I'm right next to you. I'm not going to fall down. I'm not going to, to stutter. I'm going to hit my shots. I'm going to do what I need to do. And that's kind of the mentality I went to it with. I was actually kind of like overhyping myself just to kind of overcompensate for the obvious pressure we have on us to perform and the obvious like difficulty of the tournament itself, because it's not an easy tournament at all by any means.
Well, it can't be. It's the best teams in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And precisely.
You're looking then at that event, and I think for a lot of people, that was their first international LAN. COVID obviously had a massive impact. A lot of the Chinese teams hadn't been to a proper LAN in a long time. So I think maybe expectations for Wildcard are probably going to go up from the fans next year, because everyone was like, that was Greg's first event. That's where he gets the kind of taste for it. But in your own mind, is there any moment of that PGC that sticks out to you as a big moment? Like, is there any play that you made that you think that was huge? Or was there any time that you knocked somebody or got a kill on someone in the kill feed and went like, oh my God, I just killed, X, Y, or Z? Like, is there any moments like that stand out?
There wasn't any moment that was like extremely hype in the moment that I felt like, oh my God, I just did that, because I didn't want to feel like I just like, Kyle really made me feel like I was one of everyone else. It wasn't like, what Kyle told me was, doesn't matter who you kill, don't celebrate. It's not exciting. It's just another kill. And when he said that, I was like, you're 100% right. Like, we're just playing PUBG. We're just playing a game. These are all people. We're all in the same, you know what I mean? Like, there's not much difference other than like our individual skill within the game. So it really brought my confidence up a lot, and I was able to just do what I needed to do, as well as like, I think that some of the plays that I made that were really sick was like killing Navi. I killed 3 of Navi in a long barn on a Miramar game, and then like got into a drive-by fight against 4 of OP, knocked 2 of them, and then died. That's one of the biggest memories that I remember, and I still to this day, every single day, like replay that memory in my head and how I would have played it better, which is like insane to think about. But it's like, man, that really like makes me feel like a good player. It makes me feel like one of the best players. And like as well as like the QM fight in the long barn as well, in the fed compound, the compound we kept getting fed in. And then there was one of the first games of the tournament where I ran out of ammo at a shack on another Miramar game by the jungle compound. So those are the 3 moments that I remember. And as well as just like, I felt really happy and really proud of myself that I was top 3 AR damage in the finals. And I know that might not mean a lot to people, but that's my role on the team, is I am the AR fragger. So that to me meant like I was doing my job, and that I clearly did what I needed to do against the best of the world. So I felt proud of myself, and I felt like, man, I'm one of the best AR players in the world. You know what I mean? I'm up there. And I really put myself in that position. It's just like, strike myself in, tighten myself into that book.
And that's a credit to you, because I know for a fact that a lot of your peers think the exact same thing about you now too. A lot of people rate you incredibly high. I'm just a caster at the end of the day. I'm not even a professional. I'm just someone who covers scrims, but I do see a lot of improvement in you, and you're a player that I really enjoy watching. So this is where I ask, what next? Because obviously we've just seen the competitive calendar for, well, we saw it a few weeks back, and we're still waiting on confirmation as to when these games are going to get played for qualifying. But we've got a new structure in PUBG, so there's more international lands. Obviously, the PUBG Nations Cup is coming back in as well, and there's a lot of excitement over that. What are your goals for these events this year? Like, do you think this is the year that, when it comes to the Americas land before the international one, that you guys can go ahead and break the XE United and Sonic's grasp? And then do you want to make, PNC? Do you want to represent your country at that? Like, what are your goals for this year?
Well, I mean, some bad news would be that those Americas tournaments won't be lands. But the good news is that my goal for those, I mean, since last year we were a top 3 team, I would like to solidify us as a top 3 team no matter what. So that means coming top 3 in every regional event, which we're going to have 3 of those hopefully this year. And those would lead us to PGSs, which are the internationals. And getting to play those would just be kind of like extra stepping stones, extra practice to go to the global, to the PGC at the end of the year, which I believe and I hope that the PGC points will only be calculated from the regional events. That way, we get all of a fair chance to fight for those points, since there's already teams invited to those events and that kind of stuff. It would be kind of unfair for them to grant PGS points. But still, the hope is, or PGC points in PGS. But the hope still is obviously to, or the goal obviously is to come top 3 in the region, and then go global and at least come top 8 in the global event, because I don't want to see a result that we a 14th place again at PGC, even if we go into the finals.
The funny thing is, and it's important for viewers to remember too, is even though when you look at these lobbies from 1st to 16th place, it might look like there's a massive, so for example 14th you were 3rd last, but it's not like that. The margins when you look at the teams that are in these lobbies and you look at the margins of how every little second, it is at that point in those lobbies where seconds actually matter. You could have been second or third or even first had a couple of those seconds gone the other way. And as I said, you're top 14 in the world. I think that you guys are 100% in the mix for finishing top 3 at most of those events. I think there's a couple of other teams who are thinking the same of themselves. I know that Yahoo want to get back into that mix. The Luminosity guys, they definitely think that they deserve to be back up there as well when you consider the success that they had in the past. So it's shaping up to be a good year, but you can't underestimate how big it's going to be having more international lands. It's going to improve the teams that go tenfold because you're not playing against teams from APAC once a year anymore. You're not playing EU teams once a year. You're going to get to play these lobbies more often, and I think for the teams that qualify, you'll see massive improvements.
Yeah, I think even after the first one, you'll see them come back into the regional event and just already have that like PGC-esque comeback, kind of like what I had of like improvement. Like you come back from that tournament all like way improved because you've already played against, you're playing against the best in the world. So it's practice that you can't get anywhere else. And like you said, like it's extremely valuable practice and extremely important to qualify into. And hopefully it's a 24-team event. That way we get enough slots that we can have 2, 3, maybe 4 teams from NA get to go and a LATAM team get to go. That way, we have enough representation and enough practice to where when we get to go to PGC, we're not behind as a region. Like 2 to 3 teams of ours are going to be behind as a region if we don't get enough slots. So it's very important that we get those slots and that we use those tournaments wisely. Don't waste them, even if they're not worth PGC points. Use them to show off our region and to try to show global dominance.
And then looking at NA. NA is obviously a region that means even more to you because you're part of the committee that runs the scrims. For people who don't know, I've probably earned 3 strikes on this interview already, so I'm probably not going to be allowed to cast for a while, but Greg has a massive part to do with the scrims that run every single night. So with that, you've got this knowledge of all the players and teams involved as well. Are there any teams or players that you think going into 2023 that people should keep an eye on? Like players that you think are going to have a big year or teams that you think are going to properly make that next step to challenge for those top 4, top 5 spots in NA?
The teams that I'm looking out for to like see if they make the bounds to make the leap into like the PGC contenders are Friendly Fire and Interstellar. Those are the 2 teams that have like rebuilt into what they feel like is going to be stronger. And I really want to see what they do going forward. And I want to see if they can test Yahoo maybe for their spot in the top 5. Because I'd say the top 5 right now is pretty solidified. And with Yahoo making a roster change, I honestly don't know how that will go for them. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, like that could go bad or good. Roster changes are a tricky thing to do and they could go wrong at any time. Anyone could be a ticking time bomb, not that Keenan is, but like you never know when personalities will clash after a long amount of time. And you never miss business with friendship. So you never want to be too good of friends with your teammates, and that could always go wrong. So I'd say look out for the Friendly Fire boys, look out for Interstellar, and for the up-and-comers, I'd say Duel is trying to build a good roster, Clown Car is trying to build a strong roster. Those guys are definitely definitely a strong team to look out for. Not ones to mess around. You get into a team fight with them and you got to do your due diligence. You're not going to just run over them. You got to take it seriously and take your time with them. But other than that, the way I see it, the top 5 should be solidified this year the same way it was last year. And hoping we get enough slots to be able to not be stressed out when we compete and just compete relaxed, to truly be able to see if we not see if we can win an event, to truly win an event this year. Because that's ultimately the goal, is to win a regional event and show that we can be regionally dominant and not just clawing into the events.
And are there any individual players that you think are putting themselves into a position for a big move this year? Onto one of those top 4 teams?
Yeah, everybody said it already. I feel like I'm late to the party, but Maji is a big one. He was our sub at PGC. We taught him everything he knows. No, I'm just kidding. He definitely has been doing strides. He did so much work for us, man. I love Maji. He did so much for us at PGC. We would be like, yo, what happened at minute 13 at this compound on this? And Maji would just be like, this happened there. And I'm like, man, you're a genius, bro. How do you remember that? You know what I mean? And that obviously translates into his game. You know what I mean? And all he needs is, I'm sure people have said this as well, just a little bit more communication, just a little bit more of learning how to, you know, get his voice out there, get his voice heard. And he's going to do that team wonders. You know what I mean? And also Hooligan might be a player to look out for. Just depends what team he ends up on, but hopefully he ends up on a strong team. Hopefully he gets his chance. And Zenny as well. Zenny's been putting in a lot of work, and he's a fragger. He's you know, willing to put in work for the team, and I feel like those are players that deserve better opportunities so that they can show themselves off.
Yeah, and Zenny, of course, another one of the Naps admins. Actually, this is where I want to bring something up. Zenny potentially ruined one of the best ever scrim clips you could have gotten in your life. Any comments on that one? Because I was casting that, and I was like, there is no way Greg pulls this off. And Zenny was like, Gibson, you're right.
That dude was in a tryout, so it was fair and balanced as all things should be. But man, 14 kills in that scrim would have been so crazy. Like, it would have been such good content. And to have you casting over it, like, that would have been a video in and of itself, bro. I was so disappointed, man. And I put it on Twitter, and I was gonna put even more on Twitter. I just lost lost energy on that one, man. Because like, imagine getting the 14 kill dream. I can't go past 11. Like, I literally can't get 12 to save my life. So like, having those two knocked to be on the last one and it being Zenny, like, man. Anybody but Zenny, bro. Anybody but Zenny. That's why I'm giving him the props right now.
And you look at the players that you knocked too. You know, you had Honey Badger in the mix, who's ridiculous as well. And
yeah,
did it hurt a little bit more that it was Zenny, that it was another admin? Like, if it had have been someone like Snakers or one of those guys, would have been like, yeah, fair. But because it was an admin, you're like,
no. I feel like it would have hurt more if it was if it was like a tier 1 pro, like a Snakers or a Kickstart. It would have hurt a lot more, because that would have been a lot cooler to like kill those guys at the end of the game in a 1v3. Like, that would have been really sick. No offense to Zenny and the gang, obviously, but like, him killing me there is like, man, good stuff, bro. Like, you got me. Like, how do you kill a guy that's on 11 kills, like having the momentum that is like, I'm an unstoppable force at that point. I don't care what's happening. I'm peeking him no matter what, and he still just destroys me. And it's like, you know, props to him. You know, I had to DM him afterwards and be like, man, you really had to ruin that for me. But like I said, he said he was in a tryout, so I was like, I had to give it to you then, I guess.
Yeah, I have a lot of love for Zenny too. I actually like that roster that's being put together as well, by the way. I think they're going to be fun to watch. So I want to step away from PUBG now, just a little bit, because, you know, we spent a good while away already. And I want to kind of get an opportunity to know you better, because that's what this is about at the end of the day. So when you're not competing, when you're not running naps, what do you do in your spare time? Like, what hobbies do you have? What do you like to do?
Man, I'm actually a full-time gamer. I'm actually like a full-blown degenerate gamer. Recently, I have been like hitting the gym a little bit, you know, cooking a little bit. But my mom helps me out a lot. She's like fully supportive of me. So she actually kind of spoils me and like, you know, actually gives me meals and stuff. It helps me meal prep, helps me like cooks for me and stuff, because I help her out with other stuff around the house or with, you know, money or whatever is needed. So we have a good relationship in that, and that allows me to literally play, like, wake up in the morning, do naps, admin stuff, deal with naps, lobbies, and set up scrims and everything. Do scrims with recorded scrims, VOD review afterwards. Take a break, eat. I'll stream for X amount of hours until I rage at the game, you know, until I'm like done with ranked. I've had enough, and then I'll like get off and I'll edit. Like, I've recently been editing like TikToks or YouTube shorts from my stream if I get some good clips. That's like mandatory. I must do that. And then I'll play like Tarkov for a little bit. I'll play Rust with the homies on Thursday. I'll play Overwatch too. Not really much else other than PUBG at the moment. I'm literally full-time, fully like invested into PUBG, like you would not imagine. I'm grinding probably harder than anyone you could see at this moment.
No, I love that. And the one thing that you've brought up like a couple of times in this interview now that I want to touch on is, you know, your family. You spoke about your mum, you spoke about the holiday earlier on. How important is family to you? Because I think I've always got that vibe from you anyway, that, you know, you put them first and they seem to put you first and back you 100% as well. How much does that mean to you?
100%, man. That's like, actually my goal with competing, and like the money is, I mean, family is a big thing in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
So we live together. I mean, I'm 24 years old and I still live with my parents,
Mm-hmm.
which in America is kind of a rare thing. A lot of people get kicked out at 18,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm happily living with my parents. You know what I mean? And if I had a partner and this house was big enough,
Mm-hmm.
that would be amazing. I'd be happy to live with my parents, even if I had a partner.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the goal is to get a bigger house. So that's what I'm going to do with my PUBG money, is just to buy a house for me and my parents to live in. I mean, they're getting old. They're in their 60s,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to continue living with them for as long as I can. Because, like I said, you know, they're getting old. There's no better thing to in the world than family, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been there for me since the start, obviously, and they just support me so much that like I would be stupid or dumb and just like unloving and selfish to not help them out and return the favor and get us like a nicer house or a nicer place than what we're in now.
Man, I love that. I actually really do. I've always thought that you're a good guy, but just hearing you say stuff like that, it means a lot, because, you know, I'm Irish as well, and family's got a big thing to do with our culture. So I love the fact that that's what your main goal is. And I think
Dude, it's a shock. It's a shock being here in America, and like a lot of my friends are like, they turn 18 and they just get kicked out of their house, and I'm like, man, how is that possible? Like, I've got such a like strong and stable support system that it just allows me to do everything I want to do in life.
Funny thing is, in Ireland, most people living at home are still like 27, 28 now, because
props, bro. You got to do it, man. Got to do what you got to do.
it ain't got nothing to do with family love, though. It's the market, the economy. The salaries are so low and rent is so high that people just can't afford it. Like, we're living in a world now where being between 18 and like 30 is probably the worst age bracket you can be in when it comes to just having your freedom to do what you like and all that stuff. I think we have it a bit rough at the minute, but hopefully things will get better for everyone around. So we'll go back to PUBG then for the last couple of minutes of this interview. And first off, there's a guy called Snooper, and I don't know if you know him or not, but he's in a lot of the streams. He watches a lot of scrims all around the world, and he actually asked me to ask players a question. So I'm going to give him a shout out on the on the
Snooper.
Yeah,
that's our coach, man.
Of course,
sir.
but
Of course we know that.
I had to make it seem like he was a fan. You know, I couldn't make it.
Okay.
I couldn't make it.
I was gonna say, there's no way you don't know Snooper, man.
I can't make it seem like, you know, that I know who he is, and I can't make it seem that, you know, he's your coach.
Surprise! I'm sorry. I should have known. I should have caught on. I'm so sorry, Gibson.
Well, Snooper, this question is from your coach directly, and he wanted to know what you bring to the team that nobody else in NA could. And your reaction, like, yeah, that is 100% a Snooper question, isn't it?
That is, and that's literally for me as well, because he knows that I am the only person that brings that, like, well, I'm actually not the only person. I think me and Mime are probably the only people that bring that, like, I don't even know how to put it, like, suicide factor. Like, our lives in the game don't matter. We're willing to put our lives in front of for our team. Willing to do anything for the team, and I'm in there no matter what. I'm the first person in every single fight, and I will direct every fight that I can. I will communicate everything that I can, and I will take any risk necessary for the team without even thinking twice. So that's something a lot of people can't say. A lot of people are absolute baiters. I'll give my call out right now. A lot of baiters in the scene. I am far from that. I'd say that's actually one of my biggest downfalls too, is lack of thinking of consequences, but it helps me a lot in a lot of cases where my team can just back me up on the downside of that. You know what I mean?
As long as it's worth, you know what I mean? You have to take every risk, and as far as, you know, if I give up my life in this lobby, is it for a good enough reason? And I think you got to keep that balance in there as well. So I want to talk about some of the other players inside of NA now. This is something I've done with everybody. You've probably seen me have this conversation with Shrimsy. I've had it with Roth. I've had it with Kurt. And it's, who's your favorite person or team to get into gunfights with inside of NA when it comes to the scrims every day and those tournaments? Like, who's the one player that you just love going head to head with?
Man, there's so many. I'd say like Friendly Fire is really fun to fight because they always like give good reactions, always DM me after the fights. It's always fun to like have interaction with the people you're playing against, because it's like a real human to human interaction. Like, Korshak's always messaging me like, oh, good stuff, dude, nice shots. It's just like, you know, having that like man-to-man talk, even though you're competing, and still having that friendly banter, friendly interactions. Like, it's so nice. And it's not even like the trash talk that you expected probably, but yeah, I mean, like them or LG, it's always so fun to kill them because like I can always smack talk them in a fun way, and we're just having fun. It's just banter, nothing too serious. Obviously, I love taking names from Sonics. I love taking names from ex-United any day of the week. But that's always more of a serious occurrence than it is a joking occurrence. I'm buddies and friends with Kickstarted Tribsy, but if I went up to them and was like, man, I just dumpstered you in that scrim set, it would be a much different response than what like I would get from the Friendly Fire LG boys. So definitely would love to prefer to kill them and have fun with that. You know what I mean?
Corsac is a player I love. Like I could watch his streams. He's got that same type of energy that Cow has sometimes as well, where he's having a laugh. I actually think that the move to Friendly Fire is going to elevate him to another level again. Like mechanically, he is brilliant, but I think Roth will be a very good influence on him this year. Yeah,
he'll put the leash on him that he needs.
And then the last one is who's the thorn in your side in NA? Like who is that one player? It's like it's him again.
Man, I don't want to give these props. I don't want to give too many props, man. In scrims, dude, Hooligan always kills me. In like I'm always like tryharding or trying to like get mine, and Hooligan always just dumpsters me. But in real games, I'd say Mime has killed me in some stupid ways that I'm just like, man, I wish I could take that back. Like even parachuting in, and this guy's like chasing me down on a bike, terrorizing me. It's just like, man, please make it end. How is this guy doing this to me right now? Like I should be the one trolling this guy. And I'll never say oldless to this answer. If that's what you're looking for, that's just not gonna happen. But that's what the answer everybody will say.
Yeah.
Or everyone should say, but not the answer I will say, and not today.
Well, look, I think the best thing is it's the start of a new competitive year. You can draw that clean slate when it comes to Mime and those guys, and you can set the record that you want to run in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
So, Greg, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. You know that I have loads of love your way. So, I'm going to give you the floor for the end of this interview. I want to see if you have anything you want to say to fans, to Wildcard, to haters. Just the floor is yours. Say what you like.
All right. Well, much love to you, Gibson. I mean, you're amazing. All the work you do is amazing. I really hope you get more opportunities in our space, as well as continuing to get your great opportunities in the Rainbow Six space, because I know you do such a great job in there. Shout out to you for this podcast. Shout out to all the fans and my stream and my personal supporters on Twitter, all that stuff. Wildcard as well, obviously. And big shout out to PUBG for hosting tournaments that we all love to play. And a shout out to my team for working hard every day, and shout out to my friends. I mean, that's all there is to it.
And that's it.
Big shout out to you, Gibson. Thank you. You're the best, man. Much love.
You're too kind, Greg. You really are. Well, I just want to say a massive thank you again for coming on. You know I have a lot of love for you. You know that I expect big things this year from you and the guys on that team. If you're watching this and you haven't already, please make sure to give Greg a follow on all those socials he just spoke about, on his Twitch, on his Twitter, to keep up to date with everything he's doing. Make sure to give Wildcard the follow as well, because those guys have shown this roster a lot of love and confidence by picking them up and continuing to support them in 2023. And if you're enjoying this content, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we've got plenty more of these interviews coming in the future. Greg, it's been a pleasure. Viewers, thank you for watching. I hope you all have a great one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.